Hello movie barfs and welcome back to the channel. Obadiah Stane, or the Ironmonger, was the first villain in the MCU in 2008's Iron Man, or more descriptively, the first of many bland villains. Most notably, he was a mirror villain, a recurring trend which would continue throughout the rest of the MCU's run. And while his plan failed at the end, there were actually several missed opportunities that, if taken, would have resulted in him defeating Tony Stark and claiming his throne at Stark Industries. Let's take a look at them in this video. Here's how to beat Iron Man in his first movie. Now, the first thing we have to understand is Obadiah Stane's motivation. He basically wants Tony out of the way so that he can take over his position at Stark Enterprises. Being the older and more experienced one, Obadiah has had enough of playing second fiddle to Tony, and perhaps feels that he deserves more recognition for building the company up in its early stages. And after bringing the company to success, he had no choice but to step down for Tony to take the reins when he reached legal age. His primary drivers are jealousy mixed with a tinge of hidden resentment. It's this jealousy that spurs him to get rid of Tony, even to the point of arranging his murder. After a weapons demonstration in the desert, Tony's convoy is ambushed by a group of terrorists known as the Ten Rings. He survives and is held captive by the group, but he then builds his suit of armor to escape, and the rest is history. But if you've seen the film, you'd know that the real mastermind behind Tony's attack in the desert was Obadiah Stane himself. The Ten Rings were just the muscle for hire. He was the one who ordered the hit, as we see in the scene where Pepper Potts finds an incriminating video in Tony's office. But unfortunately for Stane, Tony survives the hit and is instead taken captive to build weapons for them. The leader of the Ten Rings finds out that Tony is the target and decides to blackmail Stane, telling him that the price to kill Tony has just gone up. Now, we don't know the full details of the past interaction between the Ten Rings and Obadiah, but one thing's for sure. If Obadiah had just paid them whatever extra amount that these fellows were trying to extort, then he would have gotten rid of Tony for good and he would be the new CEO of Stark Industries. It was his mistake in not paying them to continue being cheap. Whatever amount they were demanding, surely it was a small price to pay in exchange for taking control over Tony's company. But alright, first mistake aside, he doesn't pay them, they keep Tony alive, Tony escapes with a suit of armor and returns back home. Now that he's back, Tony has a change of heart after seeing the death and destruction his weapons caused, and wants to contribute more to the world than just building stuff that blows up. Tony decides to use his Iron Man technology to destroy his weapons that were sold to terrorists. But as Obadiah filed an injunction against him, which was about the only smart thing he did by the way, Tony is locked out of his own company. He enlists the help of Pepper to sneak into his office to hack into the company's drive to get the invoices and locations of the weapons. But in the process, she chances upon a most incriminating video. A video that exposes Obadiah as the mastermind behind Tony's attack in the desert. Now, come on, what kind of idiot leaves such an incriminating video in the company's drives? Bear in mind, this isn't Obadiah's office or his computer, it's Tony's office, and she's accessing the company's drive through Tony's computer. This video is short but significant, as it was the first piece of evidence against Obadiah and it forced him to expedite his plans. It was the turning point for him. This was his second big mistake, leaving a piece of smoking gun evidence against him in the company's drives where a tech whiz like Tony could access it. It's safe to say that if this video had never surfaced, Obadiah might have gotten away scot-free. Upon seeing this footage, Pepper informs the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and Obadiah becomes a wanted man. All because of a video that he should have deleted instead of carelessly leaving it in the company's folders. Okay, on to the next one. Now, somewhere in the middle of the film, Obadiah meets with the Ten Rings and finds out Tony's means of escape, his first suit of armor. He realizes that the suit was powered by the miniature arc reactor in Tony's chest, but Tony is reluctant to share that technology, fearing that it would be misused like his weapons. Towards the end, after the company's top engineers failed to recreate Tony's arc reactor, Obadiah decides to take it by force from Tony. He sneaks into Tony's mansion and whips out this paralysis device that can stun someone in place for 15 minutes. Honestly, this device just makes Obadiah look like an incompetent villain, so he had the means to kill Tony all this while, but he just never used it. Like he said, there are so many practical applications for that paralysis technology. He paralyzes Tony and plucks out his arc reactor, but then he just leaves him there. That was another huge blunder. Tony can still live for a while without the arc reactor, long enough to at least tell the world of Obadiah's crimes. The arc reactor is not a pacemaker that keeps his heart going, it's just a magnet to keep the shrapnel from entering his heart, and a power source for his Iron Man suits, of course. So Obadiah has Tony dead to rights, but he just leaves him there without killing him, which is absolutely silly. He has the means to finally complete the objective he had since the start of the film, but he doesn't do it. There was absolutely no reason to keep Tony alive, as he would surely go on to tell the world of his crimes. That, combined with the fact that Pepper also knows of his schemes. Just because he looked like a zombie doesn't mean he was dying. My best guess is that he thought Tony's arc reactor was what powers his heart, and that removing it would kill him. And if he did think that, well, that was a huge mistake. Obadiah now has the means to power his own suit, but Pepper and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are on their way to arrest him. He attacks them and is about to kill Pepper, but Tony saves her in the nick of time and takes on his longtime mentor turned nemesis. Now, Obadiah's suit dwarfs Tony's suit and outclasses it in sheer firepower and strength, and surprisingly, he manages to get through the icing problem that Tony had to take special measures for. They then duke it out on the ground, and here is where we see another of Obadiah's mistakes. Tony is able to sneak up on him and manages to pull out what appears to be his suit's optic cable, shutting off his suit's visuals and also destroying his targeting system. Obadiah now has to open up his suit to see, and is unable to shoot on target. His mistake here is leaving such an important component of his suit exposed. Losing that optic cable was a huge loss. It was what turned the tide of the battle in Tony's favor. If Obadiah had found a way to conceal that cable instead of leaving it open, chances are he would have won instead. But well, it's his first suit design, so I guess it's not as huge a blunder as some of his earlier mistakes. But Obadiah then compounds his mistake by continuing to monologue and gloat over the superiority of his suit. Classic villain syndrome of talking too much. While his aim sucked, he should have spent more time trying to adjust his aim and focus on taking out Tony instead of giving his evil villain speech. Pepper overloads the reactor, killing Obadiah, and that's the last we see of him. And when we consider all the missed opportunities from the start, it's safe to say that he was a pretty incompetent villain. And here's a bonus: if Obadiah had just waited till the events of Iron Man 2, Tony would be resigning from the company anyway due to his palladium poisoning, and I think he would more than likely appoint Obadiah as his successor instead of Pepper. That is, if he didn't start selling weapons under the table. But what do you think, folks? What were some other ways that Obadiah Stane could have beaten Tony Stark? Leave a comment below. Also, let us know which character you'd like us to cover next. Thanks for watching, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and see you next time.